Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on August 1st, 2023 at approximately 4:35 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day to day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the philosophies I personally live by. Now, with that said, Jimmy Casino, you are in with the gold. How you doing? Glad you could join us. Boy, did I scramble my post earlier today. Apparently today is not the second, it happens to be the first. So I will have to take a look at that. But that being said, I got looking at things the other day. I got to change that. Definitely have to change that. Don't know how, but I got looking at things yesterday. Angels and life, how are you? You are in with the silver. And let us bring up this little thing. That one. Move it over here out of the way. Blow that up full size and let us find out where we are. Cancel that. We take this and we go copy. And this is the link to Angels Are Life's live stream. So absolutely drop in, give it a look. See if you like what she has to say, do turn around and give her a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and then share the daylights out of it. Oh, and look at that. We have an interesting problem. And there we go. Technology and I are actually really getting along well right now, in case you hadn't noticed. Now, yes, my back is still screwy. But it is slowly turning itself around. Just a thought, guys. Don't make the mistake of throwing your back out. This is not an enjoyable thing. But hey, what the heck. In any event, what have we got going on here? Okay, now, as I said, the reality of it is this. We have an interesting situation going on right now. And that is, society, in case you hadn't noticed, does seem to be breaking down. However, we can actually turn this around. And oddly enough, the reason I decided to look at technology is because of what it's actually doing. Chad, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And where are we here? Chad Smith. There we are. Yeah, of course we're going to have that problem. I just gotta shrink this down just a fraction. There we are. Now, Chad Smith, this is the link to Chad's archives. And again, drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, absolutely give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. Okay. The reality of it is, I'm looking at the world. Okay. I appreciate that there, Angels. Still working on it. I'm not entirely certain what caused it, but I do know what's going to cure it. Ow. At least that one didn't actually hurt like the Dickens. Anyway, I do appreciate that. But no, I was looking at it, and obviously I'm not going to tell you that technology is a bad thing. But what I will do is tell you this. These funny little things here. Now, everybody's got one now, so we're going to jump past all the real paranoid schizophrenia thing or the paranoid reality thing. And we're going to jump right in and go, if you're worried about being chipped, you already are. You carry one of these, the powers that be, the government, brother, whatever name you want to give it, know exactly where you are. Okay, now they'll tell you they don't. And in 20 or 30 years, they'll admit what they've done. Now, I say that because way back in the 70s, I used to tell people, now I was a kid at that point. Okay, I was a young teenager in the 70s. And back in the 70s, I told people then that if you walked into a government office, they could tell you not only how much money you had in your pocket, but how much of each denomination. Now, the government at the time was going, no, we don't do that. 30 years later, in the early 2000s, on either W5 or 60 Minutes, something like that, one of these little news special outlets turned around and explained how they actually were tracking money back in the 70s. And I'm telling you, the same thing is going on now. Now, I've got one of these, and quite frankly, it's pretty much, I mean, I've got this. Of course, I've still got one of these. A landline. Okay. Now, when I was growing up, landlines were wired to the wall. Some of you will remember this. Shadow, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now we have Shadow and Son coming in here. So, copy that. And this is the link to Shadow and Son's live stream. So again, absolutely drop in, give him a listen. You know, if you like what he's got to say, give him a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel and then share the daylights out of it. Because it's by sharing these little things that we can unite this world in a positive fashion. Okay. Now, am I going to tell you technology is a bad thing? Not a prayer. Okay. But it does have hindrances. One, we have a phone now that holds all of your phone numbers. You no longer have to memorize your phone numbers. But what happens the second your phone dies? How many of you still remember what the phone numbers are to the people you need to contact? You know, we used to have a book. We used to have a book with all the phone numbers. Okay, now with that in mind, okay, now I still use cardstock. This has pretty much all the phone numbers that I use on a reasonable basis. Because if I ever lose this, I've still got phone numbers. Come to think of it, I've got to update that. And as per usual, put that up there. Grab that funny little spare sheet of paper that I keep. And my pen. As you well know, I keep a pad of paper handy, or at least a sheet of paper. You know, in order to make certain that when something comes across my mind, and not quite a Rolodex, but you are absolutely correct there, Shadow. It's just a recipe box in this case. Okay. My Rolodex actually broke. Finally wore out about 10 years ago. But, I mean, let's face it, it was 40 years old. But no, now what I do is recipe cards. But the neat part about it is this thing ever goes missing, my phone numbers are all on recipe cards. So I don't lose the whole thing. It would take a little bit of time to put them back. So got that on my list there. But technology is really handy. As you know, these things were great. You know, originally we were wired right to the wall. You know, some people had like a 40-foot cord. Okay. Back in the 60s, Gene Roddenberry came up with this image of these communicators. Okay, if you remember the original designs of these things, they were called flip phones. Okay, where you pop them open and talk to them. just like the communicators on Star Trek. Now, he also had the visophones, aka what we're on right now. But that was when it was set up on a computer. We are living in what Gene Roddenberry saw as the future. Okay. Now, I will tell you this. Technology is going to continue to climb. But we've got to start looking at technology as a bonus. I will have to check there, Shadow. I used to anyway. I just have to go back through my files and take a look. Because a lot of things went missing a little while ago. But with you take somebody like Shadow and Son, they have a creative streak in them that is just incredible when you look at some of the figures they build. So what I'm looking at, like I was talking to somebody today, brought them over because I just hired somebody to actually start doing the pictures for a coloring book. Okay. Now, is it going to, with the price they're charging, it's going to take a while to make the money back from it, but not necessarily as long as you might think. So I'm looking at this. I just hired somebody. I'm a firm believer. We start building our creative side of us, and all of a sudden things start to change. You start looking at the world and going, okay, is technology useful? Absolutely it is. Okay. These things, let's face it, it's called a phone or a cell phone. Of course, it's really funny. You get a cell phone, but if you're ever put in a cell, they're not going to give you one of these. Okay, but one of the biggest things, I will tell you this, just going back to that, Shadow. How's it going, Emmy? Glad you could join us. Going back to this issue of the recipe, I will tell you this. I take a great big slow cooker, fill it completely full with Roma tomatoes. Okay. Now into that, I've got to go and get the ratios. But into that, I throw in fresh mushroom, fresh garlic, fresh green onion, and depending on the day, sometimes I will add other fresh vegetables with it. Okay, and then of course, obviously, you have to add your salt and pepper to your taste. And then I cook the whole thing down and run it through a blender. Okay, do I use a whole pile of preservatives in it? No. But considering the fact that I don't like cooking, I figure that works really well. Sure, now you got me thinking about that. Next time I go out shopping, I'm going to have to pick up the ingredients for it. But for me, that works really well. Now, why do we have anybody else in here? Anyway, technology itself is extremely advantageous, but it is crippling us. Okay, computers, obviously, if it weren't for computers, I wouldn't be here. Well, more to the point, I wouldn't be talking on this thing. Guys, I don't know, but, talking about this, looking at a bunch of recipe cards or looking at books may not get as big of an impact. Although I know of lots of people that stand in front of a whole pile of people, a whole room full of people or a whole TV studio full of people, and they read out of one specific book to tell you how the world's going to die and we're all going to go to hell. Now, I don't know about you. I've already been to hell. Hot tubs are way too hot. Okay. When they talk about deep tissue massages, I'll tell you the people up here have nothing over the people in hell. But we used to have this neat little thing when I was growing up. Okay, well, when I was younger, I don't know about the growing up thing. I'm still working on that. Where if you made an appointment to meet somebody, there was no calling at the last minute going, I can't make it. Or something else came up. You simply showed up. Or people quit making appointments with you at all. Okay. Now, I look at technology this way. The last that I brought over to work on the coloring book for me. Okay. She came over, gave me a price. I went, okay, that's what you're charging. That's what we work with. It's going to take some time because of how many pictures I got to work with. Okay. But I am going to put it together. As a matter of fact, I will likely have the first of the pictures in place within the next week or so. Okay. It was funny because she worked out how much, she told me how much the cost would be. And then she turned around and went, okay, this is what the total will be. And I looked at her and I said, well, that ain't happening all in one shot. So she told me how she works. We're good to go. Lazarus, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And yeah, surprisingly enough, it's actually not a bad Tuesday. Although I did put the post out this morning that today was apparently the 2nd, which apparently it's not. But that being said, when it comes to this new coloring book I'm putting out, okay, she told me how much it was going to run me, then gave me the process. So I authorized to go ahead. It's happening. I know about the busy thing. That's been way too hectic. But the nice part about it, I've been looking at technology now. As you well know, computers and I do not get along well. However, that being said, okay, my other half, also known as my executive assistant and my editor, has also taken on transcribing work for me because my left hand isn't typing as well as I'd like it to. Net result, we're making headway. But I went to the government to ask for their help to get things together. And it was looking touch and go whether they were going to help. I got word this morning that I've been referred to a company that will help me with the marketing and help me put this business on track properly in today's technological world. What I do encourage you to look at is whatever you're using for technology, doesn't matter what it is. And bear in mind, that is technology. The silly part is, if we let this world continue to degrade and continue to fall apart, and we get technology gets taken out of the equation, as in an EMP pulse, these funny little glasses, so many people are going to all of a sudden go blind. Okay, because you won't have the technology to rebuild the glasses. Let's face it, it's all done by computers, it's all done by equipment now. So we'll be back to trying to figure out how to grind glass by hand in order to make the lenses, to make it viable. Now, let me ask you this. Okay. Let me ask you this. You guys have all been through your own things. Okay. And Lazarus, if you're still in the room, and quite frankly, I can't tell who is in the room, but I haven't seen you around for quite a while here. I am glad you dropped back in. But when I talked to the government, they've referred me to another company that I've got a meeting tomorrow to get things started. Now, I've been waiting because now my memory may be failing. Okay. But some months back, I was asked a very specific question on who my other half is. And I told everybody at that point that there was no way I was telling them. Okay. Some people got upset about the idea. Okay. But I did get clearance from that end. What I don't recall entirely, and this is literally to you, Lazarus, I do believe it was you that asked me originally about the identity of my other half. Not her address, just her name. Okay, but at the time, I actually hadn't gotten go-ahead from her. Okay. That's not a problem there, Lazarus. I have trouble remembering what I had for breakfast. But, I've turned around, and because of the fact that my memory was working that way, I figure I might just as well do it because I got go ahead, not to give out addresses or specifics as far as that goes, aside from the person I keep referring to as my executive assistant, my, my editor, and now my transcriptionist, is also the last that down the road, whenever we can get her across the border, she's also the last I'm going to end up calling my wife, assuming that at the time she says yes. But her name, like I said, she told me go right ahead. So I'm getting that dealt with. But her name is actually Kira. Okay. And, that's just a useless piece of information for most of you. But I got talking to this company and I asked them whether or not they could help. And they turned around and went, yeah, we can help. Even if the government doesn't back it up, you can still come online. You can still come to our company. We will still set you in place. So that's being put in motion tomorrow. What I haven't quite figured out, and I'd love your guys' input on this one, okay, is where it comes to running a business in today's world. Technology is not my strong suit, in case you hadn't noticed. And marketing is the other real major problem. But is there from your guys' standpoint, is there anything any courses that you guys can think of that would be, shall we say, wise to take? I'm thinking in terms of taking a course in computer, not exactly computer hardware. I just need to know the software, the operational side of it. Okay. Marketing, obviously. And I took a course in financial math a long time ago. As in, I was in high school. So, well, at this point, that makes it over 40 years. 42 to be more specific. But the reality of it is, when we look at technology is going to continue moving forward. Now, let's not forget, that is also technology. This is something that is woven right into our system. Now, I mentioned a long time ago that the off-worlders consider humans a threat because of their ability to bypass things. Well, here's the reality behind that. Mankind's imagination is what was put to work. Okay, before technology really took hold, mankind's imagination, creative side, was so much more advanced. But with the advent of technology and this idea of instant gratification and how can we do things faster has all of a sudden become a problem. Very much. I do agree with you there, Lazarus. In answer to that hinted at question, on top of doing my writing, okay, ultimately I'm building a healing center, but it's starting with a printing company. Okay, I've all ran that. I do mean where other people's poems and stories can be brought in, can be reproduced, can be printed and published, where we actually are going to do what we say. Okay, I'm going to keep the prices down low. I've already figured it out. I've got the ratios all worked out, where 80% of my net profit will end up going back to customers, staff, contributors, okay, in a way that in my eyes is functional. Okay, so I've already got the license to do the printing. What I don't have is the marketing background. And that's why I want to go to this other company, is because they know what to do with it. Okay, the other neat little part about it is if I get on board, then the government ends up paying me for the next 3 years while I build the company. Okay, while I take the course and then carry on for 2 years while I'm building the company, forcing me to do something I do anyway, which is tracking finances and doing the proper marketing, and the proper visibility side of it. Okay, the idea is very simple. Turn around, produce something that not only brings positive information, but brings enlightenment and encouragement. Okay, this idea of sitting in front of a bunch of people, sitting in front of a bunch of people and going, the world's going to end. Well, I'll speed that up. In about 5 billion years or so, and really after we get past 100 years, it ain't going to matter to any of us. Okay, but, and 500, even our descendants are probably going to forget about what we were up to. But in 5 billion years, yeah, the earth may well die. Okay, but I'm not going to sit around here worrying about whether it's going to die, whether the empire is going to grow too big. The Sarkon Empire ended up spawning 3 other races because it grew too fast. It did the exact same thing that mankind is currently doing. And it took it way down the road, and we can go down that road. I just don't see the point. The reality of it from that standpoint is, in my opinion, there is very little on the planet you cannot do. Okay, there's a fair chunk I wouldn't recommend. Of course, in all fairness, I wouldn't recommend skydiving. But technology has a real benefit to it. Okay, now I'm still very much a dinosaur, in case you hadn't noticed. Okay, so what we've got to look at is how do we get this message sorted around so that everybody can start really prospering, not just the people that have money. There's lots of books out there that tell you exactly how to make money work if you've got $40,000 or $50,000 spare to play with. Problem: if you require $40,000 or $50,000 to make money, how did you get there? So I've turned around and put out a book on how to get there when you've only got a few dollars to work with. And if the method works when you're making a few dollars, then you simply keep replicating it and it will grow. Okay, now I am not an investment broker. I will not tell you which stocks to go into buy, except for this. If you're working with a company and the company is treating you well and they have stocks, it would not be a bad idea to buy some of their stocks. But that's just in my personal opinion, which is one of the things I'm going to be looking into as I get a little bit of extra money in. Other than that, I do understand when I look at investments, okay, first and foremost, I'm the only one that I invest. Ow, I do hate hiccups. The only thing I invest in is GICs now. I've tried the mutual fund, it didn't work. Okay, like I said, if you work with a company, in my case, I've been working with TD Canada Trust. I've been with them for 40 years now. So yeah, I'm going to go down and see about getting stocks directly from them. Not many to start with, but that's just the way that works. I'm not going into any of the other complicated versions. Somebody else gets to do that. Lazarus is going, one thing I would recommend is using as many platforms as possible to get the word out about your business and to be easily accessible to potential customers. Absolutely agree with you there, Lazarus. Right now, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I've been told to look into Instagram. Haven't managed to do that yet, but that's because of professional procrastination. Not an excuse, just a reality. I don't know of many of the other formats, but again, this is where a holdup on technology becomes a problem. One thing I will tell you, though, where is it? This little newsletter. Okay, no, you're not going to read it. I mean, there's the title. That's the easy part. Okay, but it was only 3 pages when I started it in July. This one is 9, I think. Yep, this one's 9. And when I brought the lass over regarding the coloring book, she gave me a bunch of tips on how to improve the look of this and the readability of it. Because bear in mind, I'm doing this all on my own at this point. Okay, yes, the editing, as in checking for typographical complications, I certainly have an extra set of eyes for. But even that newsletter is it goes out either by email or hard copy through the mail system, and it is going to remain 100% free. Okay, the only stipulation to it is if you do desire a copy, okay, if you do desire a copy of it, I just need either an email address to send it, okay, or a land address to mail it to. To me, it doesn't matter because it's going, the reason I say it doesn't matter is I'll send it either way, anywhere in the world. It gets run through my advertising budget, and that's just the way that goes. Okay, it's funny when I was talking to a couple of people about it, and they said, "Well, if you're going to do business, you got to do the way that they have parameters you got to work with." I looked at the person and went, "No, they've got the information I desire. I don't have to do it exactly the way they say it's got to be done, unless I don't know a better way." You know, this is why I tell people I'm building things that to me are the right way to go. Oh, good. Thought I left my door open, but no, come to think of it, I got up and moved. I got up and closed it. You know, the reality of it is, and again, this is back to you, Lazarus. You know, I know some people come and go. That's just the way of reality. Okay. But there was one client, and there was one viewer that I actually had to block, and only one out of the entire 2 years I've been doing this, there was only one I actually had to block because they wouldn't pay attention. The only people that I actually let put links in are the moderators. Okay, and thankfully, all of the moderators I've got usually ask me first, you know, can I put a link in? Okay, but there was one chap that was putting a link, and I saw him the other day in another chat room doing exactly the same thing. Okay, now I'm a very firm believer that everybody is entitled to their opinion, and nobody's opinion can be wrong. Okay, and this is why I say technology itself is it's a real bonus for this world. But we got to realize this is a better computer than any computer on the market. Okay, yes, it does run into hiccups on occasion. Lord knows I lose my coffee cup more often than I care to count. You know, but technology is handier than heck. And for those of you that are going, you know, well, you know, we've got problems because we've got the oil industry and the oil moguls are ruining the world, as it were. Okay, no, they're not. Okay, what we're looking at when you look at the oil industry, you got to remember they've got their fingers into a lot of the foods you get, into all of your computers, anything plastic. Okay, much of your equipment today is all done by the oil industry. Now, is it wise to start paying attention to it? The answer is, you know, to pay attention to how you're utilizing things. Absolutely. Okay, but we have to remember what's happening is marketing is phenomenal. You know, companies go out, they market what they're doing. Okay, but they don't force you to spend a nickel. Okay, unless we start unless we start looking at the power companies where they go, oh, we're going to up the price and you're stuck with it. This they do force you to do. If you keep using if you keep using the convenience of everything they're working with. Now, yeah, you'll notice my light is on overhead. Okay, and probably not the best thing. I am not an extreme conservationist by any means. Okay, but I will tell you, the more we put our minds to work and start working on the creative side of things to make them happen properly, the more cooperation we encourage, the better this world gets. Okay, this is just the reality behind it. If we continue going down the path we're currently on, then we are going to have a problem. Okay, and I mean, we go back over history, and there was a really neat little issue. Okay, Rome did it. The monarchies all did it. When we take a look over history, even go all the way back to Egypt, when people get treated as lesser individuals because of the material stuff they have, society will break down. Okay, and it's already starting. We're already seeing conflicts arise. This does not mean that you shouldn't stand your ground on things. This means look at how you're doing it. Okay, and I will tell you this whole idea, like I just got news from my son. Apparently, this whole war thing is slowly wearing on people's nerves. As in, even the people that are caught in it are starting to say, enough is enough. Okay, let me ask you this. Are you happy with the way your life is? Okay, now I could put all of my data onto the computer just like you can. Okay. Ultimately, from the start, it actually wasn't Lazarus. You take a look at, and I'm just going to look at the United States. Okay, just for a moment, but it's pretty much the same around the world. The current social structure was designed when they corrected it, as it were, and went a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Had they stayed on that, it would have been fine. Okay, what they did though was they let greed get in the way. Okay, and here's the thing. We can turn this whole thing around. With the current social structure built the way it was, that it was built in the first place, it can be turned around. We just have to get focused on doing it. Okay, and that boils down to realizing that we are not all the same. Okay, but there are similarities amongst all of us. Okay, like pretty much everybody I know, if both arms and both legs are working right, everybody does the same thing. You put your pants on with one leg, pretty much everybody. Okay. I saw somebody on a talent show one day, and he put his pants on both legs at a time. Of course, he strung them up on a suspension setup, and then did a complete flip into them. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't do that. Yeah. Iowax, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Iowax just saying, one day the drama will be gone, and I'm going to be your favorite song. Now, I'm not entirely certain what I'm is, but that's okay. I'm not necessarily the most, up-to-date individual. Matter of fact, I may be one of the biggest dinosaurs available. But absolutely, eventually it will happen. But here's the thing, and I know this is egocentric, and I got over it pretty quick. That change, that elimination of the drama starts here. You guys are living proof that people from every walk of life, from all around the world, can get along and can support each other. Now, my mission is simple. Get this message out around the world, regardless of who people are, regardless of your gender, who you're crawling into bed with, who you're voting for, how much money you've got. It doesn't matter. You've all got the same problem. You're all born. You're all going to live a certain amount of time. And the odds are you're all going to die. In some people's cases, mine included, you get to die a few more times. Don't know if that's a good thing, but it does give you a different outlook on life. But by you guys taking the message, and yes, I am asking for your help to do this, to take this message and spread it to everybody out there. Yeah, Iroquois goes, the bad side will die out by snipers and bandits. You know, personally, I am a pacifist. You wouldn't know it by the novels I write. You know, yeah, as you can see, my back is shot, at least for the moment. That was, to say the least, painful. So I'm just getting these down because I can. When I said I use that cane for a reason, normally it's because my leg's shot. Right now it's because my back is. But these two novels, you wouldn't know I was a pacifist by the way I write these. Okay. These take a group of very violent individuals to make a world a little better. Okay. And the way I figure it, with the amount of problems I've had with publishing companies and what have you, okay, with ones that claim to be professional, this is why I've turned to it and gone, okay, I'm building a publishing company. And yes, I have every intention on taking some of the business away from some of these people because they're claiming they're going to do something. And in my experience, they haven't done it. Am I going to tell you who these companies are? No. I believe they have this funny thing, whether it's accurate or not. They've got this funny little thing called libel and slander. So I'm going to tell you, I haven't run into any company that has really done what they claim they would do. Okay, so with that in mind, I figure I've got two of these out. I'm in the middle of tying off I'm way behind because of relying on other people for way too long. Okay, which is what prompted me to look into the business side of it and go, okay, I've got to bring my education up. Why does she intend on and do that all the time? I will be right back. Hey, she dumped the call. Yeah. Give me a moment, call, would you? There are some times when technology is just a pain in the neck. But as you can see, it takes me a minute after I get standing to be able to move, and then we're back to fine again. Uh-oh. Thank you so much for dropping in, Lazarus. Really appreciate you coming in. Do have a great day. Technology can be a pain, but I look at it this way. Technology is a wonderful thing, and it can be a real advantage in any walk of life. The one big difference between humans and the off-worlders is literally the level of their technology. Now, if we go to the ancient races, they went the other direction. And they turned around and went to what most humans call real magic. Okay. By the way, all it is learning how to manipulate what is referred to as 0 point energy. Okay, this is something we can all work with. You can work with your creative side. You can work with technology. You can work with 0 point energy. You'll notice there's three different venues there. Okay, you've got your creative, your intellectual, and your what humans are calling supernatural. In all fairness, it really is ultranatural. Is a better way of putting it. Okay, but what I'm looking at is we've got to start working together, and this room is proof positive that can happen. We just have to put our minds together and make it happen. You know, now the reality of it is, oh, by the way, I did end up getting another program that may work for me. I'm not sure yet. I haven't used it. I haven't done much with it to try and do some additional videos and start uploading some shorter ones. But when we look at technology, ask yourself this: are you doing something that you with technology that you could be doing, albeit a little slower, that you could be doing by simply creatively thinking and operating on that level? Okay, myself, I've got a few things I'm working on. This is just the beginning. Like right now, like I told the company that is going to be helping me with the printing business, with the publishing company, like I told them, I've already got 23 books, and I've got 8 books in print, 23 books in queue, 23 books on the go, and 8 books in queue. Okay, I don't know if that 8 books in queue includes the coloring book. I got to do that analysis as well. Where are we? But let me ask you this, guys. Okay, where it comes to your life, are you content with where it's standing? You know, with what you're accomplishing? Just making a note to make sure I deal with what I have to. Well, I do appreciate it. And this is directed straight at you, Iowax. What genre are you actually writing in? It's just a curiosity thing in my case. You know, there's a few genres I don't touch as far as writing goes, right? But that doesn't mean I won't be working at publishing them. There are a few things I will not publish. And it's not a question of is the book good enough. Okay. What I've heard from a lot of writers, you know, whether they're literary writers or songwriters, doesn't matter. Yeah, they really that's excellent there, Iwalks. You know, where it comes to the music, I'm not about to sing anything for you because I think I did that on one video a long time ago. But I'm not happy with my voice. I figure if you give me give me a cassette, give me a CD, give me a radio, I'll put it in a bucket, I can carry a tune. But I've talked to a lot of people that have tried to get a book published or a poem published or whatever. Okay. Well, this will keep you out of trouble, Nathan. But thank you so much for dropping in. And Nathan has shown up. So, as per usual, Nathan's done the nice thing about, you know, dropping in and supporting. And therefore, here is the link to Nathan's show. Okay. Absolutely drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he's got to say, absolutely give him a thumbs up and do subscribe into the channel. Okay. It's this kind of interaction that will help build things. Okay. Now, I turned around when I was looking at this. So many people I talked to. Well, I had a poem I really wanted to get it written. I wanted to get it published years ago. And do I have it right there? Years ago, I paid. Now we're talking probably 40 years back now. Okay. Or close to it anyway. I actually paid $75 to get one poem printed in this book. And what they said was they would turn around and give me a copy of it. Okay. Now, the sad part about it is this. I turned around, spent $75. I thought it was a good deal. Then I got looking into the pricing. You realize this book, when I did the calculations, this book in today's world, even given the cost of producing, of printing the book out and handing out a copy to each contributor, when they got this book done, based on $75 per poem, they turned around and, they turned around and made $30,000 30 years ago before they ever put the book to print. Okay, this is including publishing it and handing out a copy to each contributor. Now, I got looking at that going, that's insane. Okay, so I've decided, and I think it'll be, let me see if this actually has. Yeah, I will be producing a poetry book that is about this size. Yeah, that book is already drawn up. I've got it translated into the new format, but this one, okay, the poetry book will be about that thickness. But I will tell you this: anybody will be able to contribute to it within reason. I will not put in. I won't tell you your poem isn't good, but this will be This will be a family-oriented poetry book. Okay, one that anybody of any age can read. So, with that in mind, to get your poem into it will require a simple $20 Canadian, the poem itself, and a letter stating that it's your work and I have the right to republish it and to reprint it. Okay. Now, that being said, okay, that's where I'm starting with there. The funny thing there, Iowax, I've got a couple of songs I've written that I've never written to music, because quite frankly, again, I don't read music. I don't read music well. I certainly don't play music well. Iwalk says, if I write you a rap, can you promise to post a short with Dr. Dreeby? Oh, I take it as Dr. Dread. The answer to promising anything, the answer is no. Okay. I've run in too many times when because number one, I don't know who Dr. Dre is. Okay. But that being said, if we're talking the words, if you're talking about putting the rap in, if you're talking about just printing the words itself, okay, if you're talking about printing the words itself, the big stipulation on that part is, like I said, if it promotes the deliberate overthrow of either a company or a government, I won't print it. Adult prose, I won't print. And if it's just chock full of vulgarity, quite frankly, it isn't suitable, in my opinion, for everybody, every age. Okay, so do I have stipulations or parameters that I work with? Absolutely. One thing I will absolutely guarantee, though, is if you do send a rap to me, there is no way I'm going to print it or utilize it myself, okay, and not give you credit for it. In all fairness, I wouldn't utilize it myself anyway. But I don't know how long it's going to take to get the poetry book out, because I don't know how long it's going to take to get. I think it boils down to, let's see, this has almost 60 pages in it, which makes it 12 sheets. I got to double check. I think I could go up to 20, because I think if I recall what my printer said, I think if I recall what my printer said, I can get to about having it printed this way. I'll be able to do it to about 20 pages. But I just gotta go down and double check that. Okay. Now I will tell you this, but Iwalks, you do bring something to mind here. Okay. Oh, that's terrible. Iwalks goes, I have one about Batman being sold into the wet market. I will be putting out. You brought something to mind. Okay. Because I'll have to put that type into an adult only book. Okay, as in only suitable for adults. At which point I don't have a problem with it. I just won't put it I won't put it in a family oriented volume, which I'm sure you can understand. Okay, but if I do one that is strictly for adults, then I can turn around and put whatever into it. Again, I still won't put in one that promotes the idea of overthrowing a company or overthrowing a government. Building your own company, absolutely. I'm building a printing company that is a publishing company and printing company that is going to turn around and replace some of the other players. I have every intention on it, but I'm not targeting any one of them in particular. I just don't like the way I've been treated. Okay, it's just that simple. So when we look at technology, it has advantages. Now I still do a lot of my writing by with pen and paper. Then I contact my editor and my transcriptionist, and I go, okay, I'll read it to you. You write it down. You put it together. Then I go through and we edit it together. But it does mean it comes out proper. Okay, the one thing I find really annoying in the creative industry is this: you turn around and produce something, so you pay for it, and then the artist doesn't get anything back. Now I figured out, and I've already got it written down and literally on paper, how to turn around and make sure that people make proper royalty. But it's not a question of, oh, you got $30,000 that you want to spend. It has nothing to do with your money. It has to do with, you're producing this one item. This is how much you get for it, period. Okay. Now, if you take a look at it, and let's say, just for simplicity's sake, let's say I put a book together that has 100 poems in it. Okay. And I'm going to pay royalties. Well, royalties, I know exactly how much of that is going there. So and from that standpoint, I would take 1% per poem in that book of the amount that's been allocated. So the more books that sell, the more money comes in. But the fact of the matter is, I've got it laid out in a percentage base. Because I'm not about to turn around and somebody says, well, I want X number of dollars out of it. I don't care. This is what I'm offering. I was told one day that where it comes to negotiation, I don't know how to negotiate. Because I go, here's the deal. Take it or leave it. Okay, this is what I'm working with. You're either going to deal with it or you're not. But I'm not about to put a contract together that I wouldn't sign myself. As a matter of fact, I turned Hollywood down. They came to me wanting to tell my life story. Right. And I told them why they showed me the contract. I went, nope, not going to happen. The guy goes, oh, you don't understand the money you're turning down. I looked at the guy and I said, no, I understand entirely the money I'm turning down. What you're having trouble with is how little I care about it. Money to me is not the be all and end all. The stuff I've got does not make me worth more than somebody else. Okay. And what I intend on doing is opening doors so people can have their dreams come true. Okay. As in, I'd like to have my a poem in print permanently. I will make that happen within reason. Absolutely, Nathan. Funny thing with money is you can't take it with you anyway. You know, and it doesn't matter. The Egyptians tried it. They tried putting all this stuff in the tomb with them. You notice they died and their stuff is still there. So I'm not interested in taking it with me. So I figure if I can live on, if I take care of my net profit, which means I cover my own bills first, then I take the net profit and spread it out. I'm set up to take 80% of my net profit and turn it back to the customers, back to the supporters, the contributors, and back to the staff. I will be keeping 10% of my net profit is going to go straight to me, and 10% is going to go into building the company. Absolutely. But the other 80% is already allocated to go elsewhere. Okay. Now, the nice part about it is people have said, well, people ask me if I was buyable. I'm like, no, you really can't buy me. Okay. Yes, you can absolutely threaten me by going, well, I'll kill this kid or I'll kill that kid or I'll take, this away from you. That's not called buying. Okay. That's called, there's a lot of things that's called. None of them are polite. But this is why I've got it laid out to be able to go, okay, how did this work? Okay. The one part I'm having trouble with, there's a couple of areas of tracking that I got to look at that I've got to deal with in order to make things grow properly. But this is where that education comes in, is to figure out how to make that happen. I figure I finally got into the modern world in some ways. But what we have to realize is the material stuff that you've got. Let me ask you this, and this is to all you pack rats out there. Okay, the amount of stuff you've got, does it actually make you feel better? Are you happier with all this stuff? I used to be a professional pack rat. Okay, and the amount of room that you see on my walls never existed before. Okay, because I would have something hanging there or something posted there or whatever. And the shelving unit, the shelves, were always jam-packed with whatever I could get. Now I'm getting rid of a lot of stuff. Okay. Oh, that reminds me. That box, well, I gotta wait till my back straightens out. But I gotta move this box here. Actually doesn't belong in this room at all. Okay. I don't know what's in the top box. But those are boxes that I've got to get rid of. And now, right now, it's just a question of waiting until my back goes into place. But the first thing you've got to ask yourself is, with all the technology you've got access to, are you happy? Are you content with the way your life is going? If not, what are we going to do about it? And yes, I did say we. Okay. Because when you take a look at this, that one. Did I miss one of my books? I did. I didn't pick it up when it was up there, which annoys the heck out of me. Primarily because it hurts to get up. And of course, it's not there. Not that one. This one here. Yes, back is very tender. But this book here is one that contains the backbone, bad analogy, of how I literally turned my life around. And yes, this is technology. Okay. But I keep these deliberately short because the way I figure it, there's a lot of really good books out there, a lot of really good work out there that says, here's how to change your life. But most of the books I see are like this freaking thick. And I don't know about you, but I don't have the patience to read a book that thick. I got the patience to write one that thick, not read it. Okay, so I pared it down to real simple steps that have worked for me. Let's face it, patience is not one of my strong suits, but technology itself is advantageous. Okay, and if it works for you, this is great. Put it to use, but remember that and I found this out the hard way. If you're working on a computer, absolutely imperative you get up and move around a bit. Okay, even if it's just a question of get up, walk around the room a couple of times and come back and sit down, just to take a break and give your body that little bit of mobility. Okay, the fact of the matter is this: if we concentrate on the material world and only the material world, you're going to find this society continues down the path it's on. Okay, and I say going to because I remember Rome when it collapsed. I remember what brought about the end of the monarchies. I don't mean about what you read in the books. Okay, I'm referring to remembering the lifestyles. Okay, so I'm looking at it now going, how do I take my life from where it is right now? Doesn't matter how you got where you are. It matters where you are right this moment, and are you content with it? If you're content, this is great. If you're not content, then it's time to make changes. And the funny part about it, in my eyes, is mankind's got some great technology, but the only functional difference between them and the off-worlders is, number one, the technologists, the toys are much more advanced, but their creative thinking processes are somewhat limited. Okay, you take a look at where they focus their creativity. Okay, they focus it a lot of the time on how to make something that does the same job but more deadly. Also known as weapons. You'll notice people don't concentrate a whole lot on how do I make communication more effective so people are less aggressive. Okay, and don't get me wrong, I'm a firm believer that aggression has some viable places in mutually agreed upon sporting events, in movies, in books. Okay, and you can have it in your imagination, but violence has no functional use. Oh, my apologies. Self-defense and hunting and survival. Violence is kind of necessary. Mother Nature does not have animals that just die quietly. They usually are taken out while they're running. Okay. Is there a place for violence? Yes. But there is a much wider place for peace. Okay, for harmony. And this is the thing that I'm looking at pushing. Okay, the whole idea, and it gets to me sometimes. There are billions of people that will listen to individuals going, the world is going, God loves everybody except this person, that person, and this person. This doesn't work for me. Okay, technology, if you notice, if you get one of these things, yes, this is dating it. That's a solar-powered calculator. But the funny thing about it, this little calculator doesn't care who you are, doesn't care who you voted for. This calculator will still do the same job. Okay, in that respect, I intend on running my company the exact same way, the same way I run and I talk to people. Okay, and there's a guy, Randy, I met a couple of you just the other day. Okay, and the reality of it is this: I will treat people the same as I treat everybody else. This is what the message is. Be nice to each other. Use technology in all its glory and all its usefulness for whatever you'd like, providing you're treating the people and the planet and the denizens of this world as equals. because not one of you is better or worse than the next. Okay, some of you are more talented than others in certain fields. This is just plain the reality of it. But it's time that we turn around and really look at the world and go, okay, how do we get the message out that treating everybody equally with the same guidelines, okay, is the way to work? Now, in my house, you come into my house, I've got a couple of very simple rules. Number one, don't steal. If I've got food in the house, knock yourself out. If you want a bite to eat and I've already let you through the door, you're more than welcome to it. Okay, that's just the way I am. Of course, I will also sit down and go, I'm hungry, I need to eat at this point, and whether I've got company or not has no bearing on it. I'm not the best socializer. Okay, but I do look at technology and money the same way. The fact you got better toys does not make you a better individual. Fortunately, what I find with the people in this room is I find that people are genuinely supportive of each other and really quite often go out of their way to help each other get ahead. Okay. And this is something that can be passed on to the rest of the world. We've started it rolling. I'm not ending it. I ended up last week, I didn't do a lot. Of course, last week I couldn't get out of my bed much. And that became the problem. But I am curious from your guys' standpoint. I'll be going through my emails and what have you tonight. Wonder, let me just see here. So I get thinking of certain things, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, forgot about that. So let's pull that over here. And it's a nice thing about having 3 monitors. I've got this one. I've got a monitor over here that I've got the screen you guys can see. And then I've got the monitor up here that I can do other things on. And if I look at this, and where are we? Open up that tab, and we go to there. Because I'm just looking, because there's probably a number of, well, that's entertaining. I've got a number of things on the go here, but let me just take a peek. We are sitting at, I actually wanted to know yeah, I'm talking to myself. Welcome to live stream. Dashboard. Not exactly. I've got one close to it. I've got a couple of lizards up front, but they're not monitors. I used to actually have a monitor that was green, but that goes back way back into the past. Yeah, I've got a couple of things in my comments in YouTube that I'll be getting back to today, amongst other things. But I'm just looking at this, and a lot of the stuff I'm looking at, I've got to go through. I lost a week. Philip, how you doing? Glad you could. I didn't even notice that part. Glad you could join us. Yeah, a green monitor they used to have, and they were called monochrome. Okay, and you'd either get a green one or an orange one. I had both. Different computers, but I had both. All this graphic work that you see now there was none of it when I was a kid, when I started working with computers. I still can't get them to do what I'd like. But no, you would have to go back to the original computers. Okay. I mean, let's face it. Where is it? There. This thing has more computing power than the original computer. Because the original computer, the Cray, that I first found out about, was a full city block. And all it could do was add a couple of numbers. Okay. These have a staggering amount of computing ability. But understand, every computer was built originally based on the workings of the human mind. Computers don't compare at all to the speed. Okay. Primarily because they're missing major chunks. But the reality of it is technology itself, work with what you've got. I mean, when I talk about working with what you got, okay, now I could go down to the gym and use all the newfangled tools and what have you, or I can stick with this. Now, this, like, I'm not strong enough yet to work with bigger than that. That's only, what is it now? 5, 10. That's about 10 pounds. But when I started working with it, it was only 5. Okay. But it's a question of put the effort in. If you've got writing that you're striving to do, put the effort into it. If you've got an education that you're aiming for, you've got to do the work. It's not going to just happen overnight. Okay. And the thing that society is teaching us right now is you come out of high school, you can be making, millions of dollars right off the bat. I'm telling you, you might be able to. You may be one of those lucky few. But the ones that survive better are the ones that start with a little and have it grow slowly so you can figure out how to handle it. Let me ask you this. If you're just learning to drive, which makes more sense? Not which would be funner or which would be cooler, but which makes more functional sense? Somebody just gets a driver's license. Do you get them a vehicle that people call an old beater, that'll do the speed limit safely? Or do you get them a Maserati? Oh, I cannot tell you who came up with that idea, but we're talking about way back in either the 20s or the 30s. I'm presuming Nathan probably knows more about that than I do. But it was way back in the early 1900s that the first computers were built. Okay. Now, why it ended up taking up the city block, they didn't know how to build it better. Okay. It's that simple. You think about it, everything has gotten smaller. And smaller sometimes is more effective. This is a self-help book designed literally to show you how to take your life from where it is and turn it into what you'd like it to be. Okay. But most of the self-help books I know of are like 7 times this thickness. They don't tell you anything more. They just put more words in it. Is my experience. But I have no idea. I couldn't tell you who came up with the idea of, we're going to call these glasses. Okay. I have no idea. I don't even know who came up with the idea of going, oh, if I put this lens in front of my eyes, I can see better. Okay. I do know that we figured out how to hunt by trial and error. We figured out, the thing that most people forget is males were much better. Males were definitely, they were stronger physically speaking and could deal the damage a little bit more effectively on the whole. This does not mean women couldn't do it. It means men were designed to be able to handle the physical strain. But when you look at society, it was literally the females that stayed home, that figured out the cooking, societal structure. They figured out the legal system. Okay, where it went sideways, there's a lot of possibilities. Okay, but what mankind has always been doing every time they make a technological advancement, they found a way to take that technological advancement and turn it into a way of hurting people. Okay, and that's the thing that bothers me. Okay, yes, you get to understand how people think, and you can use that to your own, you know, your own benefit, if you will, by manipulating other people. What I'm aiming at doing is helping people understand that there are things people will tell you that are manipulative in nature, but you've still got the choice as to whether you pay attention to it. Am I perfect? Not even functionally remotely. Okay, I look at it this way. The world is, and this is a wonderful world. There are, in my opinion, no third world countries. Okay, you've got countries that don't have the same toys. Okay, but you don't have countries that are second world because Earth is one world. No matter where you live on it, it's one world. No matter what color you are, I will tell you, this calculator will work for you the same as it does for anybody. Okay, doesn't matter who you vote for, a calculator will still do what it was designed to do. Okay, and you'll notice forest fires don't ask who you voted for before they burn down the house that you're in. You know, this is the thing we have to realize. And this is why I look at people and go, okay, I don't remember, I know everybody out there has a name. I refer to people by the name I see posted because that's the way my mind works. But we have to really take a look at the world and go, okay, how do we get this message to people that you don't have to be aggressive? War does not bring peace. It never has. It will bring quiet. But for people to sit there and say, war brings peace, no. You know, or it's good for technology. No, it's not. Talk to any doctor that worked in the war, that worked on the front lines with the war, with the soldiers. And if they're still working, you know, if they come home and they went into medical practice at home, okay, any one of them will tell you it's easier to patch up a wound when you're not worried about somebody pulling a gun on you, or when you're not ducking shrapnel from an explosive. Okay, it used to be you go to war, and it was economically a boost because everybody was doing everything by hand. In today's world, you push a couple of buttons, and your productivity goes up. Okay, this doesn't add up all that bright. You know, and this thing, and that reminds me, I've got to deal with that. But this is what I mean by we have to look at the world and go, what are we doing? Are we actually making this a better place to leave to our kids? Because when we pass, they're left with it. Ultimately, Philip, you're absolutely right. Taking down a buffalo required cooperation. Okay, taking down a cougar absolutely did. And if you think about it, trying to take down a woolly mammoth wasn't done by one individual. Okay, you know, one individual goes up to a megatherium, a giant tree sloth. Well, a giant ground sloth, really. One person didn't take it out. Okay, people had to cooperate. Today, what we've got is people going, "Oh, you've got different color skin. Oh, look, you're wearing glasses. You're less than I am, so I'm not going to help you." You know, I think, and this is going to sound really twisted, but Chad, I think one of the best memories I had was sitting in, I forget the name of the bar, but I had been at odds. It was back during the Black Death. I had been at odds with the competition. I was coroner, and so was this one chap. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So we were at odds because let's face it, before the Black Death hit, there were 4 of us in this one community, and I forget how many people there were. I think we were saying probably somewhere in excess of about 30,000 people, but we had four coroners. Okay, then the Black Death hit, and of course, prior to it, we were at odds with each other because it was literally a struggle to make ends meet. And then what ended up happening, the Black Death hit, And well, Fenton, you've heard me mention him before. He's still around today. But Fenton was a coroner. He was an absolute adversary of mine. And one day I was in the, I was sitting in the tavern, and this this chap comes in. He and I, we didn't fight with each other, but we weren't friends. But the place was jam packed, and everybody was sitting down. Everybody was pretty much in tears. We'd all lost something and somebody. Okay, so Fenton comes in. He looks, and I had an empty seat. He goes, so he turns around and he says, "Do you mind if I sit here?" I says, "No, pull up a stump." Right. We got talking. Turned out we both had the same problem. Our staff kept dying. So we got talking about it, and it turned into one heck of a joke fest. We go walking down the street together. We started actually digging and pulling the bodies together. Okay. But it really boiled down to we were trying to build coffins to hand in, because we got word 150 miles up the coast they'd gotten hit with the plague. So we knew we were in trouble. And all of us went to work trying to build coffins fast enough. Turned out we couldn't outrun them, which, by the way, brings to mind this issue of modern day, where you hear about all these camps that the governments have around the world, around the country, where they've got all these big coffin type containers set aside. We had the same thing during the Black Death. Okay, because we knew we had to get the body buried. Same issue. Okay, but Fenton and I ended up developing a friendship that has lasted for about the last 700 years. Right, he still lives with me, he just happens to be dead. Okay, but again, this was back at the beginning of technology. Okay, you gotta remember, technology is literally a question of finding a way to make your life easier. Okay, we used to draw, when you used to do writing, it was done with a stylus, and you'd scratch your writing in. This is one of the reasons that the original writing was done in very, very stiff lines, because it's very hard to chisel a letter if it's got a curve in it. In today's world, we can do that, and we just take it for granted. Okay, this is why I've gone back to the idea of I'm looking at the stuff that I can put creative effort into, and make some of the Christmas gifts I will be dealing with this year. Okay, instead of just going out, I'm going to buy this. I'm making a lot of them. Okay, but what we have to remember is Where are we here? Yeah, absolutely, Philip. Fire away. Philip goes, speaking of obsession with skin color, I just read a short story by H.P. Lovecraft, read by an AI voice engine, built from recordings of Christopher Lee. It sounded remarkably real. And that's just it. I have no problem with that. That's technology. And, it's absolutely, they've done a remarkable job with it. Do I consider that true AI? No. Is it a remarkable recording device? Absolutely. Okay. And, I look at it this way. There is no way I did a couple of videos where I actually read while I was online. And you saw how, if you saw them, you'll notice I don't read fluently. Okay, but technology has advantages, not the least of which, when I take a look at my other half, she requires technology because, well, let's face it, she's 100% blind. Now, there's one thing you said there, Philip, that doesn't add up for me. You went, I just read a short story by H.P. Lovecraft, read by an AI voice. To me, this isn't reading. This doesn't mean it wasn't enjoyable or wasn't well done, but that's listening. And that's like the old radio shows they used to do late at night, where they do a narrative on the radio. You didn't read the radio, you listened to it. And that essentially, in my opinion, is what that is. Does not make the technology any less usable or any less remarkable. The reality of it is that when you take something like that, it works out quite well. I have no doubt about that, and I will be eventually taking all of my books and turning them to audio. And of course, I was actually looking at that possibility with these voice recorders that do that for you, and I will end up testing them out eventually. Right now, I still am very much a dinosaur. Will I be reading the stories out myself? The odds are I will stumble over them a lot. Okay, and since I don't know the first thing about editing, that ain't going to work well. Yeah, very much, Philip. I am still pen and paper, which is more advanced than pencil and paper. At least I'm not using a slate tab and a chisel. I figure I'm doing better from that standpoint. But I've got a phone that's got a computer and calculator on it. I've got a computer with a calculator on it. I still prefer this, a solar powered calculator, or paper and pencil. But then paper and pencil requires more thinking than just pushing a button. And I am a firm believer, the more you use your mind, the better it'll hold on to its cognitive capacity as you get older. Okay, and let's face it, it's not that I feel like I'm old. I feel like I'm in pain, but not old. Okay, in my opinion, I'm sitting here, I'm 60 years old. I'm aiming at seeing the 22nd century. Okay, meaning I've got to live another 77 years to make that. And Philip goes, in the land of the blind, who is king and queen? Has your other half given you the answer to this very old question? That's the funny part about it. I don't think in terms of kings and queens. Okay. I look at that. In the land of the blind, it's simple. She does what she is capable of. And like I told her, I'm a real control freak. I will not support the idea of her driving downtown in traffic. I'm just not going to support it. Everything else, if she could do it, it may take her a little longer. I don't care. Okay, the fact of the matter is that the reality, if you treat your other half as an equal, then you both end up sitting on the top of the totem pole. Now, her and I see things very much the same way, it seems. You think about it, we've been together 3 years now. Well, it'd be, wait a minute. Yeah, today's August 1st. So we're looking at 2 weeks down the road here. 1 day shy of 2 weeks. And we'll have been together 3 years. Okay. Speaking of which, I've got a birthday coming up I have to deal with. It is mine. Oh, that's not entirely correct. Let's see. This is August 1st. So, what time are we here? 4:14 p.m. in 2068. 4:14 p.m. in 1968. I walked out. I was tagged as dead and shipped to the morgue. Okay, so it would likely be around this point that I literally walked out of the morgue after being pronounced dead and shipped off to it. Okay, I literally walked out of the morgue and started my life all over again. Okay, but that wasn't a past life. That was this lifetime, which was really kind of funny from that end. But no, from my other half standpoint, from Kira's standpoint, we both are in the same boat. Okay. The fact of the matter is, I see her as an equal. I don't see her as being blind. I do joke about it in a way and go, look, it doesn't matter how close we ever get to each other. You're not likely to see us. I may be able to correct that problem for her with one eye. The other one, not so much. But the reality is we have to treat each other as equals, no matter what the technology. Now, she relies on technology a lot more than I do. Okay. Primarily because, well, let's face it, she can't see the physical world. Therefore, she has to sort of hang on to it. Yeah, it's funny, Philip. When they pronounced me dead, right? They tagged me and shipped me off to the morgue. But when you look at the timing, that was August 1st of 1968. In late 66 or early 67, okay, the original Dawn of the Dead came out, the walking zombies. The other ones walking around going, brains, brains. I tell you, in today's society, I swear they'd starve to death. Dogface, how you doing? Glad you could join us. But no, I look at it this way. I'm sitting here going, yes, I'm older. I feel like I'm older than Methuselah on occasion. But, I am older, but the fact I've got gray hair, well, I started going gray when I was 16. My dad started going gray when he was 14. So I was late bloomer from that standpoint. But when we take a look at technology, if it makes your life better, okay, and you don't forget where you came from, it works out quite nicely. The reality of it is this. Using technology does give us a way to connect. Because obviously, I would not be talking to you guys because I don't leave my house much. Meaning, you either come here and track me down, or I don't talk to you without technology. This is why I don't have a problem with people contacting me. If I don't know the number, I'm not adverse to hanging up on it. But I did figure that when I decided I was going to push the company and make it grow, that I better answer unknown callers. But the number of times I get somebody phoning up and going, oh, there's a problem with your Visa card. I don't own a Visa. Okay. Or your SIN number has been canceled. I'm like, I wish they would do that on occasion because then I wouldn't have to pay taxes. But scam artists, and I just ran across one the other day. This is where technology becomes a problem. Okay. My phone provider is TELUS. Okay, so I get a letter from them going, you've overpaid your bill. So you've got a little bit of an overpayment here. And then 4 days later, I got another letter that I thought was from them that said, you're on the verge of being disconnected. So I phoned the company directly. I didn't hit the hot link that was provided. I called the company up. The company goes, no, your account is absolutely perfect. The email address that you're talking about sending it to you isn't ours. So I'm telling you, when you get something that doesn't add up or that brings a concern to you, absolutely take your cursor, put it over time when we're talking email, put the cursor over top of the email title. It'll tell you where it comes from. Okay, it'll tell you where that email comes from. And double check that. Whatever you do not hit hot links. Okay, unless you know exactly where that hot link came from. Okay, if you trust the person that sent it, that's great. Otherwise, you do not use a hot link because they'll tell you there are ways that they will absolutely decimate you. Okay, but technology, like I said, it's got some real advantages. Yeah, well, I actually thank one. I had one phone me up there, Philip. Philip says, tell the scammers. That's okay. My head fell off. I can't use my phone anyway. I had one phone me up, and he goes, there's been a problem with your custom order, or with your order at customs. I said, oh, thank you so much for letting me know. And he goes, you don't seem concerned. I said, concerned? Absolutely not. I says, normally when I have a problem with customs, the cops show up on my doorstep. You're phoning me and telling me ahead of time I can get out of the area. So thanks so much for the heads up. And he's just sitting there going, but that's not the way this was supposed to work. I have people phone up, oh, your credit card's been overcharged by X amount. Really? That works. Well, you've got to deal with it. Not really, because it's been overcharged by more than what my credit card is, and it's not my credit card. Well, can I get? And he goes, can I get you the number of your credit card? I went, no. But how about if you tell me the number of the credit card you think is mine, and I'll tell you whether you're talking to the right person. Well, that's not the way we operate. Well, sucks to be you. Because I'll tell you, from my standpoint, I don't hand information over. Like, I don't have a problem telling people, this is where I live, or here's my phone number, because I can hang up on phone calls. And besides that, I run a business, which means people have to know where to find me. Okay, I can't exactly sell books if they don't know where to find me. I still do consulting work, but I send a bunch of mails off, a bunch of letters off to former clients. I didn't get one back, right? None of one came back, so I just wrote them all off. I just shredded the numbers I had, and when I'm not dealing with it anymore. Same as I gotta go through this and wipe out email, wipe out phone numbers I don't require. Speaking of which, I've got this neat little list of things I've got to get done. So I do that. The reality is when we take a look at technology is has some great advantages. But you got to realize that it is very easy to take technology and turn it against you. Now, I will tell you, these things, they've all got a built-in camera. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm a firm believer that these are usable even if your phone is turned off. The technology is already there for the phone to be used, for them to find out where you live. Now, the powers that be will likely say that's not the way it works. Give it 30 years and wait and see what happens then. I went through the same thing years ago with technology when I was talking about how the government was tracking our money. That was back in the 70s. In the early 2000s, it came out and said how it was done. So I'm looking at the world going, this is happening. I can't prove it. I'm not about to worry about proving it. I will tell you, use technology as much as you can. Understand the technology that's coming, what the off-worlders have. We use the Wi-Fi and what have you. These guys use subquantum. They use a biomagnetic flux holographic interface. Okay, so when you watch the movies where for instance, Iron Man turns around and he's got all the pictures up in the air and he's doing this sort of thing to move the computer around. That is what is already in existence in the off-worlders' hands. It's coming into existence in the modern world, in as much as we have touch screens. Okay. Let's see. Philip's going, have you seen the video of a police cap picking up her phone and playing along with the scammer? She gave them the physical address for the police department when they asked for info. I think that's fabulous. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Have I seen the video? No. But I like that sort of thing. It's like if you're going to play that kind of game, do understand who you're talking to. For me, it's not that I don't tolerate scammers, I just don't have time for them. So as soon as I know they're a scammer, we disconnect. Also known as hanging up. I do remember years ago I made a mistake. I just didn't clue in. So when I was a kid, there was a neighbor that used to always be over at our place. And it was normal for people to phone our house looking for somebody that didn't live here. So I get this call. Is Jeff there? I went, nope, Fred, he's not right now. Can I take a message? Because Jeff was going to show up sooner or later anyway. And the guy goes, no, do you have any idea when he'll be back? I'm like, I haven't got a clue. And I'm thinking, like, I'm literally answering the questions because it was legitimate. I haven't got a clue when he'll be back. And then the guy, he says, oh, well, do you know where I might be able to track him down? And I said, yeah, try his house. It just didn't clue in on me at that point where the problem was. But technology has brought people closer together on the whole. But I do strongly encourage you all that where it comes to meals, pick one meal out of the day, no matter how busy your schedules are. Pick one meal out of the day. Put your electronics aside. Turn the phone off. Turn the computers and the video games off. Sit down at the dinner table with everybody that's living in the house. Okay. And have a meal. Sit down and talk. This is how you get to know who you're living with. Okay. This is the important factor. This is the part that's missing. The family unit has been hiccuped. Okay. And it's time we start working towards really interacting with each other once again. Okay. I'm starting to come out of the shadows here. I used to leave the house very rarely. I'm trying to get out more. Of course, when I threw my back out, getting out of the house became a non-possibility. Okay. But I'm telling you, we've got to reach out to the neighbors. Get to know who you're living beside, who you're living across the street from, who you're living across the hall from. Get to know your neighbors. The important factor here is the more you know your neighbors, the less crime you're likely to have in your neighborhood. This is where karmic law comes in handy. And doesn't matter how much technology you've got, karmic law still holds. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Not do unto others as you fear they're going to do unto you, but do it first and then split. Okay, the reality is we have a world here that can be turned back into a virtual paradise. Or we can turn it into heck on earth. Your call. But it's going to require the effort of a lot of us to make this happen. Okay, the thing that we got to remember is technology is going to continue to advance. But if we stop using our brains, then technology is going to be lost. Because I will tell you, right now, if we were to have a power outage, if we were to have all the computers wiped out, we would be back in the Stone Age overnight. Because the people that know how to actually smelt metal out of rock don't exist anymore. Okay, the people that know how to make tools out of raw metal don't exist. You got the ones that are the best ones that are alive now. Okay, there are still some blacksmiths out there, absolutely. But they don't work with raw metal out of stone. And the miners, they run it through a process to break the stone down. This is why it is so important to get back and relearn the old techniques. Because if we have a power outage now, this society is hooped. Okay, absolutely hooped. And I'm in no better shape than the rest of you. Let's face it, I can't grow plants properly. It just doesn't happen. So I'm not a farmer, and technology and I don't get along at the best of times. This is just the reality of it. But we have to realize that when we're looking at society, we have to turn and talk to people, get to know each other again, so that we can make things happen. Now, let me just take a look at something here. Where are we? Okay, today is Tuesday. Okay, and I decided to look at this. And the reason is, if I look at it, doesn't matter what world we're looking at, doesn't matter what race we're looking at. Technology has killed a lot of the creative side of people. Okay, that creative ability to simply draw something or paint something. Carl, how you doing? Glad you could join us. That ability to put creative physical effort into something in order to create it has been pushed aside for technological advancement. But what happens in the event the technology fails? Okay, in my case, like I said, I've got this neat little book box here that if technology fails, I've got the phone numbers. Yes, I've got my phone numbers programmed into my cell. Okay, but I've got them on a hard copy as well, in case I run into a problem. Where are we here? Philip's going, have you read about the civilization in West Africa that skipped over bronze and was already smelting iron? They didn't write anything we can decipher, but they were working iron. Have I read about it? Absolutely not. Do I know it existed? Absolutely. People used to talk to each other, and all of the techniques were handed down mouth to ear. Okay, this is one of those things that has been lost. This is one of those things that people have forgotten how to do. Okay, written language was a convenience. It too was a technological advancement. But the reality of it is that writing itself is one of these things that people used to take pride in how they wrote. My penmanship is absolutely horrendous, but I am working on it. Okay, but being able to write enables you to pass a message on. This is why the bards of old, the storytellers of old, used to get paid, because they'd remember word for word the news, and they'd travel around the world, around their area, and they would spread the word by voice, and people would sit there and listen to this story. Okay, now clearly I can't do much of that myself. Okay, they travel around too terribly far. Getting back to it, but the reality is technology has crippled people's memories. It's crippled people's creative ability. Do I have anything against technology? Not at all. Okay, if it weren't for technology, well, my understanding is if it weren't for technology which had nothing to do with cooking, we wouldn't have cheese. Or no, we wouldn't have cheese. Because from my understanding, cheese was invented by accident, bringing milk across the ocean. Okay, way too long sitting in a bucket, being moved back and forth. Okay, ended up settling into cheese. It was not the cheese we have today, but it was cheese. Okay, and technology does have some very definite advantages. Okay, not the least of which is the fact that I've got pictures up on my wall instead of having to draw them myself. Yeah, and Philip's just going, I agree with you 100%. Suspect this contributes to our declining social literacy. Absolutely. That plus this idea of let's make everybody the same. The moment they turned around and went, first and foremost, let's take a look at the issue of this color matters. I'm telling you, the moment you mention color, you're already in discriminatory mode. I look at it and go, life matters. Okay. A friend of mine put it really neatly one day. He goes, dead fish don't swim upstream, which is very true. They really don't. Matter of fact, come to think of it, dead fish don't swim. But society has taken to finding it's great to be individual. Absolutely imperative you're individuals. Okay. I wouldn't dream of asking people to try and think like I do. Number one, I don't know if it's actually physically possible. Okay. But it is one of these things that we've got to look at and really turn around and go, okay, how do we start spreading the word? How do we start reconnecting with individuals? From my standpoint, it's simple. I have a tendency, I multitask. Okay, and this is, for me, I'll put it on speaker because I don't care if people are hearing. I don't, if I'm doing something that I don't want other people to hear about, sure, I'll put it down. Absolutely, Philip. If you desire a puzzle to come together, it's got to fit. Take a normal puzzle and try and do that. Hey, bonus, Derek. Glad to hear it. So you're paying off my credit card then? From my stand, I'm glad you managed to come in. In all fairness, I think the big one is at about somewhere around 12,000. I think that's what it's sitting at. I'd have to go in and check. In time, that's going to become pocket change for me. But for the moment, I've still got a little room on it. I'm not worried about it per se. The other credit card is paid off 100%. I don't think I've ever paid interest on the other one. Of course, the other one I use for groceries. So I pay the bill. Come to think of it. Yeah. Let me just see something here, just because I'm curious at this point. Oh, well, that didn't work that well. Figure I'm sitting here and just dawned on me. Wonder when I said that, or did I even send it? That would really annoy me if I didn't. Not spam dingling. Let's try that. Just dawned on me. I may not have sent the invoice in to actually get paid. I didn't. Well, ain't that annoying? I forgot to send an invoice in. This is why they haven't paid me. That would make sense, No, in all fairness, Philip, right now I really don't. However, the publishing company I'm in the middle of starting, okay, I've already laid it out. I've already laid out my income where I am already geared to be making. Yes, I realize I'm 60, therefore I'm at the end of my life and I'm going to die because I'm going to get sicker and iller as I go. Yeah, not going to happen. I will die, don't get me wrong. But I've worked it out where I can be generating as much as $1 billion a month. Okay. And this is not a question of will it happen. It's a question of will it happen before I drop dead. I've got the whole thing laid out. I've never seen money be that. Oh, nice. Yeah, I think mine is coming up on 650 right now. My credit score, that is. Yeah, I'm working on breaking 700. I'm quite happy. Mine at its worst was 512. And I've seen people with lower, you know, but I will get up there. And it's simply a question of making it happen. Anybody can get up there. But this is why this book was written. Okay. This one here shows you how to actually handle finances. This one, which I've still got to translate over into another format, this one tells you actually how to make them work. You know, between these two, this is tools that I personally use, which is why my credit rating is climbing. It's why I don't panic when I've got the money I've got. And it's why I can sit here and quite comfortably say, I know I can show you how to build things. Yeah, absolutely, Derek. That's what I do with my one credit card that I use for groceries. Okay, that's what I do. Is I buy groceries on it and then I pay the whole thing off. That one is still at a zero. The other one, well, there were a couple things that came up. Like for instance, my insurance came, my home insurance and my car insurance came up after the company closed. Okay, so I ended up having to do that to make sure I didn't lose the insurance coverage. Well, somehow, you see, I'm a firm believer that I won't send my bills to other people. Oh, which one are we looking at? Okay, we have this one. Okay, and this one is already in print. It literally boils down to $20 is sitting in your hand. All I need is the $20 Canadian, and it's sitting in your hand. I just need it in the $20 and a physical mailing address. Okay, and it goes out. This one I've still got to translate. Okay, as in this was written in Publisher. I've got to get it into Word. You know, every one of the books that I've written are available through me directly because I got shafted by a marketing company that crippled my ability to go on Amazon. Okay. Now I am going to turn around and figure out how to do with some of the books, but the novels I've written, I can only at this point do through me. Okay. But that being said, you know, as a matter of fact, just to put that in perspective before we go any further, we go to where are we? Yep, that's the one. If you're trying to get a letter directly to me, this is the best email. Okay. In a nutshell, Philip, I worked with a company that number one, they posted the book on Amazon under their name, and I can't post and they charge less than what I told them to, and now I can't get them to remove it. That's the email that works and that gets to me. That's also the one that is used for it's the one that is used for PayPal because I take either direct deposit or either direct deposit if you're in Canada or PayPal. In one case, there's a gentleman that's having to turn around and send it by Western Union. You know, and I don't know how Western Union works at all at this point. But this is a website that does have all of the books listed on it. And that's the silly thing. That's the silly thing there, Philip. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But when you take a look at this, then when you go into the book itself, okay, no, not this one, it's boxed away. but they did leave the copyright in my name. Unfortunately, they tied it to their company. Okay, which was not what they said they were doing. Or more to the point, it's not what they made clear. So I'm going to have to go and deal with a copyright lawyer and figure out how to get everything turned around. Now with this in mind, guys, my throat, as you can tell, is starting to pack. But we've hit the 2-hour mark. If you like the video, if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. I will be back again tomorrow. And quite frankly, what I'm looking at tomorrow is going to be how physical health is going to affect your life and what to do with it. Okay. Now, with that in mind, I will be back again tomorrow. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Philip. It absolutely should be. And this is what prompted my idea of starting my own printing and publishing, my own publishing company. I've got a printer lined up. I told her I've got 23 more books I'm working on. She says she'll be around for another 10 or 15 years. So I'm not quitting. I'm just working with her and be done with it because she does exactly what she says. But with that in mind, I will be back again tomorrow, assuming I don't die. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.